About to be joined by Coach Izzo. I think I've got everybody for permission to record. If you don't, just send a note in the chat, please, and I'll get you squared away. Jim, I'll get you. We are joined by Coach Izzo now. Coach, we'll start with an opening statement before we go to questions.
Yeah, my opening statement is I call this press conference myself, which I don't very often do. But there seems to be some frustration out in the world. This is an understatement, but even including basketball and where things are and what's going on. And I just wanted to set the record straight on as much as I can set the record straight. Always understanding you have a job to do and I have a job to do. And also telling you that for most of you, I appreciate how you've handled things. And for some of you, I don't appreciate how you've handled things. I realize everybody has a different boss and everybody has different protocol. But understand this, if we weren't playing, a lot of us, you and me, would be on sabbatical or unpaid vacations or whatever you want to call them. So first and foremost, I talked to Brad Underwood today. Him and I spoke, and following the advice of our medical personnel and theirs and the safety of our student athletes, we will be postponing that game on Saturday too, because we've had 3 more positives yesterday. 1 to a non-staff member, or 2 to non-really players, and 1 in Davis Smith. Now understand something here, because you guys have your moles, which I know you all have, and I understand that's part of the game now. And because the social media is still the worst invention known to mankind to me, I realize you're going to come up with your own things, and everybody's got their little guy in the corner that does everything and says everything. But I think most of you are understanding that there are rules, and the rules are that we have to have our student athletes okay everything now. Whether you know this or not, I can't even talk to their parents about their grades without getting permission from them. It's the society we live in now, where the 18-year-olds run the world, and I don't agree with it. I don't agree with having to get permission to talk about their grades. But in this case, I also need permission to talk to them. So what happened the other day shows the power of this virus, because my guys have done an unbelievable job. And I want to make sure I state that. They want to play. They want to play. They'd play with 6 guys. Hell, we play with 4 on 5 if we could. That's what we want to do. But there's a reality of coaching right now that you got to understand. For 18 days, as I mentioned before, I tested every day negative. All of a sudden, I tested positive. But every day that I was negative, my trainer'd come up, we test down below, trainer'd come up and give me the thumbs up, and I'd give him the Italian salute to say, well, of course I'm negative. I don't go anywhere. I don't do anything. Then all of a sudden, I constricted the virus, and I kind of looked at things differently, like we all do. And those of you that had it, I feel for you. Those of you that will get it, I feel worse for you. And those that have had it and haven't made it through is the ultimate sacrifice, which I've had one close member of my staff's father. So I look at things a little differently, and I go to bed every night, and all I do is pray that the 8:30, 9 o'clock, 7:30, whatever time we test, comes out okay. And when you go on the road, you sit there at Northwestern, at Minnesota, and you test the day of the game, and you just hope and pray that everything's okay. It's a little different than sitting there at your rooms. You guys don't have to face a lot of this stuff, but we do. If you would have seen the disappointment in my players' eyes this morning when I told them we had to cancel another game or postpone another game, make sure I don't misrepresent what we're doing. It was a struggle. And, as I look at it, if I'm losing sleep over it, just think what some of those guys are doing, because there is a true love to play the game. So with that disappointment, there's nothing I could do but explain to him why. And for you guys, I want to explain this. If you think we're hiding something or anything like that, that would totally upset me, because I think I've been about as open as any coach or any player or even your wife or husband that has been, and I mean that over a 25-year period. It's one of the things I pride myself on, that I think you have a job to do and I have a job to do. But I understand you have a job. I understand you got a boss. I got 500,000 bosses. Every alum's a boss of mine. So I understand what it's like to have to do that. This is not a lecture. This is me finally telling you how I really feel. So you're going to have to listen to the next 4 minutes and then you can ask whatever questions you have. But last Wednesday, we tested at 10 o'clock in the morning. We practiced. I had a press conference at 1 or 1:30 and we practiced right after it. During the practice, Josh felt a little sick. We tested him right after. So within that 10 o'clock test in the morning till the 4 o'clock in the afternoon, he went from negative to positive. And so, I got a million things to do, but 100 every single day. Of those 100 things, letting you know which player is positive is 101th or more on my list. Because there's nothing to hide. The kid can't play. We have to tell the health department. We have to tell the Big Ten office. We have to tell everybody here. So if once in a while I go out and say something on a radio show or something, because I don't even know where I am half the days, it's Groundhog Day, my apology. If your boss can't handle that, tell him to call me. Because I'm sick of everybody hiding behind their bosses. I don't hide behind mine. So tell him to call me. I understand more than anything, you guys have a job. And just about everyone I'm looking at right now has been absolutely awesome over the years. But with the protocols and the way they are, there is no protecting a player. So that isn't going to happen. We're going to be more upfront with this COVID thing than anything else we've been. So that's, rest assured, and tell your guys that you'll be covered there. But when stuff changes that rapidly, you probably knew that Josh was positive before I did with all the moles. And I accept that. I understand that. I don't even have a problem with it. But understand that I got a million things to do too, and that's not as high on my list. So we will continue to be as open with you as I can be. Understanding the regulations we have. As far as the next, few games or days, we will continue to daily test. We're going to continue to follow the advice of our medical personnel, who have been outstanding since day one. As they allow, we will do individual work and small group work tomorrow, the next day, the next day. We're hoping that we can start practicing according to the protocol, because we have done some things over the last few days. We will only return to practice as a team when they tell us it's safe for our players and my staff. On my staff, I'm the only one that's had it. So I've got to worry about a lot of different people. I think the reality that we all have to live with, that's hard to live with if you haven't gone through it, is two things I'd like to tell you. Number one, the people that say it's just like the flu, tell that to DJ. Number two, the people that tell you that it's not as serious as you think because some kids get through it, that's okay until you lost a son or daughter. To let you know that this virus determines the timeline of everything. I don't determine it, and really my doctors don't determine it. The virus determines it. But we will follow the recommendations of our medical team. We will do as good a job as we can do in getting it to you every day. And it's not a Debbie Downer. I just get sick and tired of people questioning, what we're doing. We're going through this day by day, just like you are. And try to remember this. My guys want to play. My guys are going to play. And if they don't play, those same bosses of yours will probably be furloughing you guys along with us. So our guys are playing for the love of the game because they want to play, because that's what they do. They're playing because they want to give entertainment to people. They want to keep our job market. They got all those things on their back. And then today we throw in another one that I'll talk about later. But there's a lot on the plate here, gang. And I hope you understand that. For those of you that do, I thank you for it. I appreciate you all. For those of you that don't, call me. Love to talk to you about it. I got a little extra time on my hands right now. So I'll open it up to some questions, and then I'll close with something very important at the end of this deal that I want to talk about, what day it really is today.
We'll start with Matt Charbonneau.
Tom, first off, real quick, the guys that have tested positive, I know some of them are a week ago now. How are they doing? Are they all feeling okay? Are their symptoms bad? I mean, I guess how are these guys feeling right now?
Well, to be very honest with you, I've got, just like everything else in America, I've got one guy that's had almost none. I've had my own son, I called him today, and he's in day, I want to say 6 or 7, and he could barely talk on the phone. He was coughing so much, and he had no coughs. It goes in phases. Unless you're the non-believers, then I guess that everything's all cool. But he's not, they're all doing decent. We've had a couple of them that have struggled more than others, but it's been tough, because I've kept my staff out of here for the most part. I'm trying to work out guys individually. I've got one GA who's had it already, so him and I are the only two that really spend any time. We've got a couple players that haven't had it yet, and those are concerns every day on who they're around. And we've had 8 players that have had it earlier, but is it 100 days? Is it 90 days? Is it 120 days? Is it 200 days? If you have the answers, please let me know, because we have no clue. So we're just kind of living day to day, making sure that they're as safe as they can be. And I'm sure Lindsay will jump on, but one of the biggest things is making sure their mental health is as good as it can be. Today, I had to ask them 3 times, "You okay?" And like I said, somebody can go through this or not haven't gone through it yet and think it's not that big a deal. I told you, I have a coach that's 76 that went through it and wasn't a big deal. I got a neighbor 55 who's fighting for his life. There are no answers on this. And so whatever we do is going to be in the safety and well-being of our student athletes and my coaching staff, to be very honest with you. And probably somewhere around 130, 150 on the list will be who gets sick and how long he'll be out, because I got 120 things ahead of that on my to-do list.
And with this downtime, with not really knowing how to handle it, have you reached out to some of these other coaches and program? Nebraska's going through it. Penn State went through it.
I told you guys, that's a good question, Matt. I told you guys early in the year that I started calling football coaches. I did that in September, October. I talked to Maryland, Ohio State, Alabama, Florida State. I talked to people all over and on both sports to try to get a handle with the football guys, because they were going through it at the time. The difference with football is when you have 100 kids out there, I don't say you hide them, but you can survive without, and you got bigger numbers. And in basketball, with the small numbers, it's a little more difficult. But I have talked to people, and I talked to Jay Wright a lot. He plays tomorrow night, supposedly. It'll be the first time since, I think, December 22nd. And so, they started practicing a few days ago. It's a long time to go, and it'll affect everybody differently. And you don't know what the residuals are and who comes back faster and all those things. it's so, every person's different. So because it happened this way at Ohio State doesn't mean it'll happen this way at Michigan State, or this way at Alabama doesn't mean it'll happen this way at Michigan State. So all I can do is, believe it or not, I've tried to do more. Last night I delivered food to each kid. I'm just trying to do something to keep them upbeat about it, because I'll still go with this. If I were somebody, I'd say, well, do you think we even should have played? I still think the safety and mental health of my players is best what they've done. I really believe that. And I'm proud of them for how they've handled it. Is it difficult? Yeah, I've been through some difficult things here over the years. And this ranks right up there with one of the most difficult, because it's unknown. I can't, I'm fighting an invisible foe. And that makes it a little, I'm not trying to be dramatic, it just makes it a little harder.
Go next to Chris Solari.
There was a lot of what I was going to ask you about with the unknown, as a coach, that, you usually have structure, regimentation, and all those things that come along with this. I guess, first of all, how do you deal with that as a coach? And secondly, as a caretaker of these kids, how, I'd imagine that's pretty tough to kind of manage at this point.
Well, you just got to picture being 20 again. Those of you that are farther away from 20, it's a little harder. Those of you who are closer to 20, it's a little easier. But you think about being 20 and have some coach tell you every night to stay in your apartment and don't talk to your friends and don't mingle with the new students that are coming back, and tell your girlfriend you're on a little time away. That's difficult. And I can't say I know how difficult, because I never went through it, but it is hard on these kids. And like I said, I'm going to say it 15 times during this little press conference. I am so proud of my guys, and even their parents. What have I done? Well, I've talked to their parents. What do? I bring them dinner. What do? I text or call most of them every night. This is never ending right now, because I am worried that sooner or later, as good as they've been, all they wanted to know today, can we get back in the gym to shoot? Can we do it if it's individual? So maybe I'll spend, with the 10 guys I can, or 8 guys I can, do a little half-hour individual workout with each one of them. Those will be what'll be different. So I don't know everything, because I'm just going every day. As I said, 10 o'clock last week, everything's green, we're going. 1 o'clock, I tell you everything's good. 3 o'clock, I look like a liar. And yet I had to deal with that. And then we had to sit there and wait. We had to get them retested, because you go from the antigen testing to the brain test. And then, we got that back. We held the plane for an hour. When we got that back, we had to make the call, and like I said, I apologize on some of it, but, calling one of you to tell you just wasn't in my cards right then. I had 50,000 things to do, including calling his parents, including making sure our other players were okay, including calling Iowa. Yeah, it's different. It's different than anything I've ever been through, and I'm sure it's different than everybody else, but we're all going to go through something probably. I don't think anybody's skating through the season. And what I got to do is make sure I do as good a job as I can to keep them safe, healthy, and mentally and physically, and that we get our team as ready as we can get them. And I think personally, we keep playing as long as it's as safe as it can be, because I think people need sports. I think our country needs it. I know our players do.
It's kind of a follow to that. Krzyzewski and Roy Williams today both said that they've got their first dose of the vaccine, and I didn't know where you were at with that, having already had it or having had COVID. But have you gotten to that point yet about the vaccine?
Yeah, it'll be funny to see how many people that didn't believe in masks and everything line up for their vaccine before the people that did. That'll be a interesting deal that I'm looking forward to witnessing here as I go forward. But I did not get my vaccine yet. I did sign up, but the sense of urgency really should be for a lot of people beyond me since I've already had it. But I did do my sign up like I'm supposed to. And like everything else I've followed in this deal, I'm just following what as many of the medical people I can find that aren't political.
We'll go next to Larry Vage.
Hey, Tom, how many players do you need? You said you got 8 to 10 right now. How many do you need to play a game? I'm sorry if that's a silly question, but.
Yeah, I think it is. I don't know that exactly. I mean, everything seems to be changing, but I think 7, 8 players would probably be the norm. But it also depends on who was positive when, because what we don't know, and probably the hardest thing about this, there was talked about, you could contract the disease or the virus maybe up to 3 days. Then it went to 5 days. Then it went to 7. Well, we think we know where we got part of ours, and it could have been even 8 and 9 days later. So that's the part that's hard to determine. And what I talked to Brad about is the same thing I talked to Franny about. Those 2 teams right now are playing for a Big Ten championship. We're not in that boat right now. And I don't want to screw up for them. I want to be a real citizen instead of like some of the ones we got that never think of the guy next to them. I did think of them. And so that's part of the deal right now is we don't know how long, it takes. We know after 10 days, you're probably not contagious, but are you after 6 or 7, or, if you're come in contact with somebody, how many days, some people test 2 days after they were with somebody or around somebody, and they can test negative, and 4 days later they're positive. So it's a lot of unknowns. That's why you can question a lot of things, but I still say, and I believe this till I'm done, I didn't believe in all the shutdowns. I wasn't on one side of that Congress or the other. I wasn't on one side of the political thing or the other. But what I believed in is if everybody would take the protocol that the real medical people said, I think we could have got through a lot of things. But rules change when people don't abide by the rules, and then we have to get drastic, and I think that's what's happened. So I don't know, Larry. I don't know exactly. I don't know if there's a true date. I think it's more on how many cases have you had in a 7-day period, and we've had, 5 or 6? Because once it hits a team, I think it has a tendency to go through. And I've told you the testing we do is not a vaccine, so don't get fooled by it. But hey, I'll play with 4 if they let us play and they think it's right. Like I said, my guys, they want to play, and they want to play bad, and they want to be safe. And they know that what we do here, we get on that plane, they're wearing their masks. We get off that plane, they're wearing their masks. They're in the meetings, they're wearing their masks. They do everything they can do. They test every day. From what I really gather, the social life has been almost non-existent. And God, I'm proud of them for that. I really am.
We'll go next to Lindsey Huddleston.
Hey, Tom, I don't want to get ahead of your comments about what today, the significance of today is, but from a mental toughness standpoint, Dr. King talked about the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in times of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. Talk about your players, the 3 in particular, and what you've seen from them, or, your son, Maddie, as a true freshman, especially Josh, who we know have carried a burden for so many times. What have you seen in them that has displayed mental toughness that's appropriate with who we're honoring today?
Well, I'm going to talk about that later, but I will answer your question now because I think it's apropos. I don't think there's any question about that. You do learn most about people when they're under some stress. And that's why I came and did this press conference. You know what? I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'm comfortable in my players' skin. I'm with them side by side. I think they've handled it about as well as you can handle it. When you have a disappointment, like you cancel the Thursday game and then the the Sunday game, and then you turn around and have to tell them that you're missing this Saturday's game too, but you really believe in your heart that it's both medically and in every other way. It's really strictly medically. I mean, that's the only reason we're missing it. It's best. It's best for us, and it's best for Illinois. And those disappointments range. And you know, when Aaron Henry and Rocket and Joey Hauser were the three guys that first thing they said is, "Can we shoot today?" You know, I think that tells you a little bit about them. You know, I tell Gabe Brown, he's like a drug addict only for basketball. You know, if he doesn't shoot a day, I think he gets the shakes, you know. And I said, Gabe, don't worry, I'll get you in the gym sometime if it's just me and you at midnight. And so I think they're handling it pretty well, but I think athletes are geared to not show any weakness. And that's what I worry about. And I tell my staff, we got to continuously call them. We got to spend time with them. We got to talk to them. We got to have the uncomfortable talk, as I've learned with all the racial issues we went through this summer. Talk about things that aren't comfortable. You know, how are you really feeling? How's your mental health? You know, how you feeling about this today? And I will get into that a little later if I could. But how do you feel about all the different things? Think, when I tell you what I talked to our guys about Sunday, it's going to blow you away, but I will save that for the end. Thanks, Lindsay.
You're welcome, Tom.
We have two more questions. We'll go first to Brendan Quinn and then wrap up with Audrey Dahlgren.
Tom, I wonder, the way that like this, whatever this been now, 10 days have unfolded, has it at all, you know, shaken your confidence in this season, seeing it its way across the finish line, you know, getting in an NCAA tournament, all these things that are still well ahead for not just your team and your program, but the sport as a whole?
You know, Brendan, I do worry about it. I mean, I was concerned about it from day one. I just didn't know how serious. I think where the NBA showed us the light in one way, the NBA and football, both college and pro, is showing us a different light. You know, right now there's going to be more NBA games canceled than there are played. You know, there's getting to be a lot of them. And I think, you know, we just keep going through these segments of Memorial Day, Labor Day, 4th of July, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and then we see these spikes after. I mean, if anybody thinks it's not because we're not handling it right, you're wrong. We're not handling it right as a country, and in my humble opinion. So I don't know what that leads. I think we're going to get through it. I really do. I think, I think a couple things are happening. Number one, where the vaccine is coming slowly but surely. Number two, I think more people are realizing that, you know, this pandemic is caused by us. I mean, it is a virus, but how it spreads has got a lot to do with us. And the smarter we get, and to me anyway, I'm not going to speak for medical people or political people. I'm going to speak for me. I just think that if we take care of our business and do what we can do, our chances improve. Now, you remember, you're talking to a guy that's been through it himself and swears to you that I can't figure out how I got it. You're talking about my own son. You're talking about a guy like Marty, who I know what he does every day. And it does leave you to question some things. But I feel that if we continue to do what we're supposed to do, the protocol that's been set, and we can get more people around us to do the same thing, I think our chances improve a lot. And I do think we'll get through the season. And I do think we'll have a championship. And I do think we'll be playing games. I think the scariest part for me is a lot of people had it in July and August and September. September was bad because everybody came back to school at schools all around the country. And that means those people around February are going to be into day 150, you know, and 120, 150. And whether it comes a second time, I just talked to a coach, friend of mine, that just got it for the second time. And, that would create a whole new issue and problem for us all, but nobody knows those exact dates. And so I'm voting, Brandon, that I think we're going to make it. I think we're going to play it. We're going through a rough time right now for a week. Other schools have gone through it. We just got to do our best and make the week to 10 days, a week and 10 days, not 3 and 4 weeks like some have gone through.
Thank you.
Next, Audrey Dog.
Hi, Tom. You had mentioned just a little bit ago that athletes are geared not to show weakness. So when you mentioned that you've been having these conversations with their parents, what have you found out throughout all of this to help them mentally, just by having those conversations with them throughout all of this to get
some are good, but sometimes, think about being 20 again. You're one of the younger ones on this group. So you can look at 20 and not be that far. Sometimes the last people you'll talk to is your own parents.
Mm-hmm.
So, you don't always tell them exactly what's going on. And I've just tried to keep it. Some parents are more paranoid than the players.
Mm-hmm.
And some parents, I don't think it's a big deal. You got so many different walks out there. It's scary. But for the most part, I'm just trying to, like when I talk to Josh's mom, I'm just trying to give them some encouragement and let them know. I talked to Smitty's and his wife last night, make sure they know, hey, I'm taking care of your son. I delivered him a little food. He's doing all right. Because that'd be scary if you were 1,000 miles away from your kid. And no matter what you think of this virus, good or bad. So I think that the job I got to do, Audrey, is to keep spending time with these guys and watch if there's a change in body language and in conversation, and are they getting a little down in the dumps? If I am, I got to take them upstairs, play pool with them, or I got to take them play pinball, or I got to take them on the court and shoot a little bit. Just give them something. And that's today we're going to try to do a couple things that we can do social distance apart. And that's what I'm going to try to do. I don't know if I have any answers. That's one place the football people don't help you as much because they can't do that with the mass numbers they have. Where with 14, 15 guys, or now I'm down to dealing with 8 or 10, I can do that and do a little better job of that.
Thank you.
Coach, that's all the questions that we have right now.
Well, I did want to close on something that is important to me, especially what we've been through all summer. And let's not let all the negative news cause us to forget the importance of the day. It is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And as I said, it doesn't matter white or black, it doesn't matter what race you are. There was ever a time that our country needed to have some unity and equality. It's now. As I watched the different documents on Dr. King, I've been so impressed by his message about love, not hate. And as Lindsay stated, the things he talked about it through adversity and what you have to go through. And a lot of people do a lot of things in the world. Not many people give their lives for a cause. And that's kind of what he did. And, watching what's been happening on the news lately, I got to say, it sickens me and it makes me feel bad that a guy lost his life fighting for something that over 50 years later, I'm watching military personnel gather around our Capitol building with a fence. And it just makes me sick. And I mean sick to my stomach. And this should not be tolerated, in my humble opinion. And I hope every Raves spends the day to honor a man who stood for and still stands for today. As I said, it's been over 50 years to try to make a dream come true. We always tell our guys, dream big. He tried to make a dream come true. And today, we're going to spend the time in a gym with a big TV, and we're going to watch one or two of the documentaries that I've watched recently that I thought had an impact to help educate not just our white players, but our black players who really, weren't even, some of their parents were barely born that long ago. And and maybe appreciate the day and hope that in our city alone, the next 3-4 days, smarter minds prevail, and we realize that we are all in this together. And, you know, I look at those military people down there, I said to myself, you know, man, you feel like putting on a uniform and going down there and sitting there with them. And then when I think about, you know, what Draymond said, it really resonated to me. Are we fighting each other? Or is this a group of people that have no concern for Americans? So I don't very often get into political things. I don't really want to use this as a pulpit for preaching. But I must say that today, Dr. Martin Luther King means more to me than he probably did any other day of my life. Because growing up in the UP, you know, I'm not as educated on racial issues, and picking a sport where it's so important. I've learned a lot over the last years. Having a guy like Mike Garland with me since college has really helped me. But we need to come together. We as a country, we as a program, we as a team, all of us need to come together. And so I would encourage anybody out there watching to maybe watch some of those documentaries and maybe take a look at really what was said. And it was said 50 years ago, more than that. And we're still arguing about the same things. Make me question a lot of things. And so today I'm going to enjoy that time with my players, both my white players and my black players and my African player and whoever else is in there. And I'm going to try to bring a little perspective to something, since nowadays players have a lot bigger platform to speak on than I ever had as a player. I'm hoping they use it well, and that we realize that people have sacrificed a lot more than a little to try to make this country a better place. And I hope that today helps bring that a little closer to reality. So if there's any other questions, I'll take them. And the reason I'll take them is because I don't want anybody thinking we're dodging anything at Michigan State. And if anybody finds a place that's more open than us, I want you to call Matt Larson or Max or me and post me up on it. Anywhere, Northern Michigan, anywhere. More transparent than we've been here, and my people here have been. I'm good. So you got 5 minutes or 2 minutes or 20 minutes that I'm gonna probably disappoint Max, because he's always afraid I'll say something. I'm not gonna say anything bad. I'm gonna say all good things now, because I got a lot off my chest too.
We'll go to Kyle Austin first, Coach.
Yeah, Tom, just a couple of quick ones for you. First of all, the new cases, those were this morning. Is that right? Did you say that?
Yesterday. But then we have to see, when we test and we get a negative test, they have to retest that person. What I call is the brain test. You know, maybe you all haven't had one, you know, where they stick the Q-tip. You haven't had one?
No.
Think how lucky you are. You're in a profession that you can stay home and you don't have to deal with people. So most of us that are out in the public eye, I mean, I've had 20 of them, and I've had antigen tests. I've had a lot of them. But when they stick that thing up your nose, it's not the most fun thing in the world. And that kind of is, if you got a negative one, because there's such thing as a false positive or a false negative. So we have to also do the PCR tests. And the minute you get a positive, you back that up with a PCR test that sometimes can take up to a day to get the results back. And that's why yesterday morning we got one. In fact, one of them was a false positive, and the other ones were unfortunately true positives.
And then one more real quick. Has there been any talk of a shutdown, or are you guys pretty confident you'll be able to at least do individual or small group stuff going forward?
No, there's no shutdown, because my trainer, our medical people have done such a good job. When we started last Wednesday, I think when it happened, we started separating people right then. And we didn't practice Thursday and Friday. And when we had individuals, we kept people that had it, hadn't had it. We separated by the everyday testing. As of right now, there'll be no shutdown here. I can't even call it a pause, but we had to postpone a couple games for the safety and well-being of not only our players, but the players on the other team. And Brad Fran last week was great about it. Brad was awesome about it.
Go to Larry Lage.
Hey, Tom, what docs are you showing? And you mentioned 8 guys have tested positive. Is that during this outbreak, or were you saying like that have ever, or while testing has been going on?
No, those guys were back in August and September, to be honest with you. And I don't even know, I know the name of one, but we're picked a couple of ones. I've had Mike Garland in charge of that. I had found one that I saw that I thought was interesting on TV, and because I've tried to watch a little bit of that and re-educate myself on things, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. I think we need to spend some time with, and look back and see how people felt back then and how much has changed in a positive way and how much hasn't changed at all. And maybe it'll inspire my own guys we got to do more. We got to do more to make sure that equality is equality and unity is unity. And everybody should be able to have a dream. And so I'm kind of excited about later on this afternoon, and I'll let you know how it goes. Nice hat.
We'll go next to Justin Rose.
Tom, if you have a chance to take your guys down to the Civil Rights Museum in Memphis, Tennessee at some point, I would recommend that for a lot of
we went to the one in Washington, D.C. when we were there. That thing was awesome too. And I have taken one team, but it was quite a few years ago, down to the one in Memphis. And you're right, it was absolutely awesome. But the one in Washington, D.C., with the statue and everything, talk about awesome. That was awesome too. So yeah, I've gotten a chance to do some pretty awesome things in that job, and those would be 2 of them.
Yeah. Just real quick on the scheduling. I know that obviously nothing is set in place at this particular time. KP's probably racking his brain trying to figure out when to fit these games in, but just your thoughts on potentially playing, like I thought I saw maybe 4 games in a week or something like that as the season gets back. Is that something your guys and yourself would be excited about, or would that be, how would that kind of, if you envision the future a little bit?
You must have been in my meeting today. KP never looks real good, but he looks a lot worse than he normally looks. I can promise you that. And he is, working with the Big Ten office. As we learned in football, sometimes, it's it's because of your COVID issues. Sometimes it's your opponents. And the problem in basketball is we can play more games in a week. We could play back-to-back games. So I told my team today, I said, there's a good chance that we'll have to get 14 games in about a 32 or 3 day period, and if that is the truth, we'll be playing an NBA schedule. And I said, so even though I hate that, I know you guys love it. You won't have to listen to me. There'll be no whistle blowing in the auxiliary gym. We'll be in a hotel playing a game, flying to the next place. It'll be an NBA schedule. So I think that's the first time they laughed and cheered this morning, no Izzo and no practices, So we tried to make light of that. I did anyway. And I think it was good. Is it going to be good? It just depends what the other team's doing. We all had these breaks. The Big Ten, KP, and the people over there, Kerry, they did an incredible job. That's why we played all those games early in December. That's why we played on Christmas. So we'd have some breaks. The problem is last week and this week were 2 of our breaks. We had a 6-day and a 7-day, or a 5-day and a 7-day or something break. So from here on out, we at least have 2 or 3 games a week anyway. Other teams will have their breaks coming up. Everybody got some, and that was brilliant by our league. I think they did a hell of a job on that, and KP really did a lot with that too. But does my break and their break add up where we can play, and will we be moving games, all over? There's a chance that we will. It's a little easier in basketball than to try to do that in football. But we learned in football, I think we scheduled Maryland 2 or 3 times, right? And we just couldn't play them. And so it's a little more difficult. I think 2 teams in football that weren't even supposed to play end up playing. That could happen too, where somebody we only played once, we might end up playing twice. Would we ever get to the point where we might go to Illinois or they might come here and we play back-to-back games? I don't know that. I just know this. I think players want to play. I think coaches want to play. I think the Big Ten wants us to play. I think the media wants us to play. And I think the fans want us to play if everything is as safe as it could be. And that's all I'm looking forward to. Playing as many games as we can, as safe as we can play them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next question's from Chris Solari.
Kind of along those lines with the schedule situation. I know that someone put out this weekend, I believe it was Goodman, that there's talks about potentially moving the Big Ten tournament to Indianapolis. Do you know how far along that is in terms of talks? And do you think that's a feasible possibility?
You know what? Don't take this insulting. That's right below telling everybody what player is sick. That because it's totally out of my hands. It's like everything else I deal with. If you think coaches have a lot of say in that, I got some property to sell you. The powers to be. I'm on committees. I'm on all this. I'm the senior guy in this league, and that ain't gonna mean much, to be very honest with you. I think they'll do what's best. I've heard a lot of rumors on a lot of things, just like you guys. As I said, no insult now, don't take it wrong. You guys have moles. I don't even have a mole. I have me, and that's it. And a lot of people think that's a mole, but it's not. And so I don't know. I've heard the same things you have, that Chicago has struggled with the virus more than Indianapolis. Would it be good to move it there and be able to go right into the NCAA tournament? Is that too much of an overload on Indiana? I just don't know that. Haven't heard it. I think it is something that should be discussed, but I'm not at that pay level, to be honest with you.
As a follow on the other stuff about today, in particular with Mike, because I know you've got such a long relationship with him. Have you seen in the last few months how much he's in terms of counseling and trying to explain the situation and the history to his guys? Has that changed at all with how and where we are as a country, do you think?
Well, I told you in the summer we were going to try to do something every week, and we probably didn't do it every week, but we do try to do some things, and we try to, whether it's a current event, whether it's something that has happened, in our country, and we want to quietly bring it to the attention of our guys and try to understand that we have a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds. And, but I think what we've tried to stick with is still this. At the end of the day, no matter who you are or what you are, you should treat person A the same as you treat person B. But we turn it on them too. You should treat us, meaning coaches sometimes, like you treat your parents. It's all the same. And to me, that would be the biggest thing, is everybody treated everybody the same. You wouldn't have to have all these separations in who everybody is. We're all one, we are one. And I think in some of the marches and things that I've seen on a positive, peaceful level, there's a lot of things that can come out good. Our kids, I thought I wasn't educated coming from the UP in these kind of situations. Unfortunately, I think there's a lot of kids that are of color that aren't as well educated. And that frustrates Mike a little bit. You know, they don't have parents talking about it or grandparents like he did. And so that's why I think this whole thing falls on educating. And so I have no problem spending time on it because I get educated. Hopefully other guys get educated. And that's about the only way you're going to understand the frustrations of people. I said it to Mike, are we going to correct 400 years? No, we're not. We're not going to probably. But can we correct where we are and move forward in a positive manner? Are we going to wait another 50 years and, you know, in what I would call real time where everybody understands? It's a joke that we've gone this long and we have situations like we have out there, or things that happened in Washington, D.C. I mean, it makes me sick. It does make me sick. And I really don't care who takes it as a insult or who takes it as a compliment. I'm speaking, I'm a citizen too. And I just hope that we get to the point where we're all Americans and we appreciate our ethnicity, if I say that right, you know, but we all are for the same. And right now, what I witnessed at our Capitol, just watching TV last night, we got a ways to go. We got work to do, and kind of in the mood to jump right in on it.
Coach, that appears to be all the questions that we have.
Well, I hope you all took it the way I meant it, as far as trying to understand. I understand your frustrations, but we're moving in a new territory here ourselves. You know, we've never been through it either. And I keep saying, if you find some place that gives you more and you don't call Larson, I'll be upset with each and every one of you. So we're going to try to do our job the best we can do it. Try to enjoy the day, because it is a special day for a lot of people and one that maybe could help all of us. And keep masking up. We got to get healthy. See y'all.
Thanks, everybody.